So, I know I've been putting out a lot of videos the last couple days, but when I get some time on the weekend, I normally like to get caught up. Sometimes there's requests I've gotten throughout the week, and I like to get to those when I have a chance. I don't really want to keep people waiting. As always, I don't expect you to watch all my videos or even most of them. I make a whole bunch of different stuff on different topics, and that's kind of on purpose. Some people like the mental health ones and just want to watch that. Some people just like the theology ones. Some people just like the character profiles. There's all kinds of different stuff people like. So when I do them, I don't like put them up just and go, I expect you to watch every single video. I'm not Dark Side Phil. A couple of people wanted an update video on Lamotrigine, and so I figured I'd give them an update video. So I've been taking it for, I guess, about 3 months now. 3 or 4 months. I've been on my current dose, which is 100 milligrams twice a day, for about 2 months. So Lamotrigine, as I've said, I'm just going to go over it a bit. It's kind of a strange beast. It was originally designed, like most of the bipolar medications, to be a anticonvulsant. That is, it was designed to deal with seizures, because a lot of kids have seizures. Some people have epilepsy. They pass out. They have that kind of issue. And for whatever reason, the things that stabilize epilepsy also work on bipolar. So it stabilizes the epilepsy, but it also stabilizes mood and bipolar. So there's I think four. Yeah, so there's I think four major ones. There's some other ones that are sometimes used. There's carbamazepine or Tegretol, which from my understanding is the least effective one, but it doesn't cause drowsiness or weight gain. And it's for people who are manic or have mixed states. Then there's Valproic or Depakote, which is used only for mania. It's used for a couple other things. A lot of medications have multiple purposes because they have several methods of action. I think it's also used for seizures and migraines. The problem with Valproic Acid is you gain weight like crazy, and it makes you lose your hair. Well, that's not on everybody, but it's especially bad for women, so it's not normally given to women. Valproic Acid also is very hard on your liver. Then there's Lithium. Now, Lithium's interesting because it works on both mania and depression. I've also seen studies that it increases the amount of gray matter in your brain, and that it does more to repair your brain than most other medications. It actually starts to kind of fix some of the damage that long-term depression does to it. The problem with lithium is it has a whole host of side effects. It has a very narrow range of action. You have to go and get a blood test every couple months to make sure it remains at a therapeutic level. If it's too low, it doesn't do much. If it gets too high, it starts to be toxic and it starts to degrade your liver and kidneys. Once again, I say these things are dangerous, but if you have a decent doctor who monitors this, it's not a huge deal. If your doctor's responsible, they'll raise or lower it, or they'll take you off something if you're having a bad effect. The key is just to have regular testing. People go, well, I don't want to suffer, possibly risk long-term damage. Well, I guess it's as is with anything, you have to weigh the cost benefits. Being morbidly depressed all the time, probably not being very active. My understanding is depression, that kind of thing, actually does damage to like your physical damage to your brain. So you have that. You have the possibility of killing yourself. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm not saying take like Valproic, because Valproic's really bad, but you just kind of have to try and take a more balanced view. So we have Valproic. We also have some stuff like Topamate. We also have gabapentin. I don't know very much about those. Sometimes they give people sedatives. I think it's Klonopin. But we're here to talk about Lamotrigine or Lamictal. So it's a strange beast. So you can actually get it in cherry chewables because it's it's a medication designed for kids initially. But what they found was it was effective at treating bipolar. It's especially good at treating what I have, which is bipolar type 2. Now, what it's really good at is treating the depressive phase of bipolar. So if you're bipolar type 2 and you spend, I don't know, 80% of your time, maybe like 70% of your time in depression and the remainder in kind of like light mania, like hypomania, or a mixed state where you're manic and depressed at the same time, it's perfect for that. So, it what does it do? For me, and it also has a lot of antidepressive and anti-anxiety effects. And this isn't just me. A lot of people have reported this, and that's why a lot of people like Lamotrigine. It has an antidepressant method of action that's very different, because normally they either affect one of the three neurochemicals like dopamine, norepinephrine, or serotonin, and Lamotrigine has a completely different method of action. So it could work in people who aren't affected by the other stuff. So for my part, I find it dramatically reduces anxiety levels. Now, are you ever able to tell the difference between mania and anxiety, or a mixed state and anxiety? Are they separate conditions? Are they interlaced, etc.? It's an interesting question because a lot of people just can't tell. A lot of people are just really angry and they go for anger management or something, or they go for anxiety management, and they don't realize that it's not really a psychological issue. It's not that they don't know how to handle anger. It's just that they're bipolar, and when you're manic, you go fucking crazy and you just kind of freak out on people. It's important to keep in mind that there are mental illnesses that are more physical and ones that are more psychological. Like if you go into depression following someone dying, that's psychological. I'm not saying it's not serious, but it's not as if the person was born with a defect in their brain, which will be present regardless of what they do. For bipolar, you could, or some or schizophrenia or something, you can send someone to all the therapy in the world, and they'll learn all these skills and they'll get more kind of competent. But unless they're properly medicated, it's just not gonna go all the way. So Lamotrigine, I find, dramatically reduces my anxiety levels. I can relax a lot better. I'm not constantly getting fearful of everything. I'm not getting anxious about everything. Social interaction is much, much easier. It quiets the obsessive thoughts. It's great for that. It's also good for just normal depression. I would used to say my average mood would have been about a 2.5, and now my average mood's probably about a 5 out of 10, obviously. So it's dramatically, the amount of time I'm normal has not only increased. So the amount of time I'm not really in a depressive or manic state has gone from being about 20% of the time to being about 60 to 70% of the time. And you have to understand that's a complete change in your life and your lifestyle. Because you go from being so depressed, you're almost despondent and catatonic, to feeling pretty normal energy levels and pretty normal mood most of the time. That just completely changes everything. It changes your complete outlook on life. And what that does is when you're normal, you can use the stuff that you were taught in therapy. Because if you're just like fucking depressed and the bipolar is just crushing your brain, it doesn't really matter how much therapy you have. But the therapy and the techniques you learn and the way you learn to deal with it, that all really comes in when you have succeeded in getting the your medication working. So no, Lamictal is excellent for depression. You have to titrate up really slowly. You can only go up 25 milligrams a week or so. So you start off at 25, then you go up to 50, then you go up to 100, then you go up to 200. And that can take about a month, maybe a bit more. The thing is, Lamotrigine is not really dangerous per se, but if you go, like if you start off and you just take 100 milligrams, there's a chance it could lead to something called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, where your skin starts to rot. Now with that, from my understanding, you just, as soon as you like start getting a weird rash, you just stop taking it, you go to the hospital, they might give you a round of antibiotics, but you should be fine. The people who it really fucks up are people who are like, oh, I have this weird rash. Oh, my skin's starting to like fall off. Oh, well, I'll just keep taking this medication. I'm sure it's just the clothing I'm wearing or something. But that doesn't happen anymore because doctors have figured out how to titrate it up properly. So because of kind of its weird tolerance, you have to take it twice a day. And if you miss taking it for like a week, then you have to start again from the bottom. So I take 100 milligrams twice a day. I take 100 milligrams in the morning and 100 milligrams before I go to sleep. So on the scale of, I guess, kind of activating versus sedating, I find it kind of mildly activating. I mean, there's medications like Seroquel, which basically make you pass out and make you tired virtually all the time. Then there's medications like Wellbutrin or Cymbalta or Effexor, which are stimulants. They're very stimulating. They wake you up, they make you more active, they give you energy. It kind of feels like you're on a really high dose of caffeine or something, but with fewer side effects. You'll get caffeine headaches. Lamotrigine is probably like a 6 out of 10. It's mildly activating. A lot of that just comes from it really reduces your depression. So what also it does is, and this is the main purpose of bipolar meds, because you'll still cycle for the rest of your life, but it reduces the severity and length of depression. So when I have depressive phases now, they're only for maybe 3 to 5 days. I feel kind of down, and then my brain kind of gets pulled back to normal. And when I take it and it starts to digest and I start to metabolize it, I can kind of feel it snapping my brain back to kind of that middle line, to kind of that 5 out of 10. So now my depressive phases have gone from being maybe like 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10 to maybe being 3.5 out of 10, which isn't pleasant, but I can still function. I don't get catatonic. I don't hurt myself. I don't contemplate suicide nearly as much. Suicidal ideation has dramatically decreased. Manic phases are a lot shorter, a lot more pleasant. Kind of a lot of the anger, craziness, anxiety, that sort of thing has gone out of it. So it's really just kind of leveled off my mood. It's made my mood a lot more stable. It's put me a lot closer, kind of that midpoint. What's really nice is it's not sedating. It doesn't interfere with your thought process. If anything, I find my mind's a lot clearer without the constant anxiety, etc. And I do take Cymbalta with it. And it's kind of advisable often to take an antidepressant with a mood stabilizer. Because even if the mood stabilizer helps you out, if you're bipolar, you still probably need something to just pick you up and keep you kind of moving. So once you kind of get the proper medication, then you can really kind of focus on the therapy. And I went through a lot of therapy. I got a lot of stuff done, and I find a lot of the stuff I learned from that really started to work once the Lamictal started going through. I don't think the Lamictal has an effect on appetite. Some people say it's pretty much weight neutral. I have to get back into dieting. I've just been busy with a ton of shit, and I haven't gotten around to it. But it's largely weight neutral. As with anything, some people find it makes them gain weight. Some people find it makes them lose weight. But it's like there's drugs like Seroquel where like 90% of the people who take it gain weight. Then there's drugs like I guess Cymbalta or like what's that one? Prozac, where most people who take it lose weight because it suppresses appetite, or Wellbutrin or that sort of thing. So there's that. So side effects. The only side effects I really get from it is headaches. I do get bad headaches. Whether it's from that, whether it's from my sleep schedule, whether it's from the Cymbalta, whether it's from the amount of coffee I drink, I'm not really sure. I do get headaches. They aren't like terrible. So what I just do is I have like a pill container because I take my vitamins too, like my omega-3s because those are good for bipolar. So when I take that, I just put an ibuprofen in there and I just take it with my Lamictal and Cymbalta, and that tends to just fix it. So the headaches are a little kind of annoying, but they're not beyond what over-the-counter painkillers can treat. So it's not really a huge problem. Plus, if you have to pick between getting occasional headaches and like wanting to kill yourself and being catatonic and barely able to move, it's a pretty easy choice to pick the headaches. I mean, they're not terrible. Once again, your mileage may vary. Some people don't get headaches. It's often used as a migraine medication, so it helps some people's headaches. But your mileage may vary. I have overall nothing but good things to say about it. It and Cymbalta are kind of collectively the best medications I've ever been on. So I'm in a lot better spot. But just because I'm in a better spot doesn't mean I won't keep making videos on mental illness. I won't keep talking about it. If you guys want to talk about it, I have a little less time now. Well, a lot less time now that I'm working. But I'll try to make time, like if you really are struggling and you need to talk to someone. So sorry that went on so long. I hope that was answering what people were requesting. This is Argent. I'll talk to you later.